Hello, Montview Church. Welcome to our February Supper Club. We hope you're really enjoying your time together each month in fellowship and discussions of our scripture and our poetry. We're hearing great things, so I hope you're enjoying what we're doing. This month, we're moving to the life of Jesus, which is the scriptures. We're doing a well-known passage again, the wedding at Cana, and a beautiful Rilke poem. So what do we want to encourage them as they gather together? What are some things we want
Jason and I were saying as we were reading through these two texts, the scripture passage and the poem, that we really hope that you are listening to these carefully, and we'd encourage you to watch the video, listen to the text read together
like
in the same place.
Yeah,
because the conversation, it really makes a difference of what you hear. So even if that means doing it a couple times or just doing it together.
And especially because it's such a well-known passage, like we've been doing all these, like that, the new ear, listening, paying attention to new things that you've never noticed.
Yeah, that you think you know it. But
Well, let's start with John. So the Gospel of John, this miracle is only in John. And if you'll remember, it's the first miracle of Jesus in Jesus' ministry. And you'll see that echoed later when we get to the poem a little bit. The other really interesting thing for me is how John is always kind of pointing towards who Jesus is in the kind of the spiritual, like the Messiah, but he's not being very direct about it. And so John is often thinking about these signs of Jesus's messiahship, you know. What do you want to name about John?
Gospel
of John.
Yeah, John is the fourth gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. John's gospel is not a synoptic gospel. Here's a word. Matthew, Mark, and Luke are called synoptic gospels. There's a lot there and behind that. But John kind of sits out on his own, or know, the writer's own. So there's a lot going on in John in not only this metaphysical way that he lays out who Jesus is, but John gives us these insights into interactions with humans, with Jesus and particular characters in the text over and over. And I would say some of the most beloved stories around Jesus come out of the Gospel of John. And this is one of them, this story of the wedding. There's a lot going on here.
You feel like you're in that scene, and the personalities that are interacting, like especially in this one, you've got servants and Mary and all of them. So,
And so we encourage you also, as you listen to this, to step into the scene of this wedding. Really think this is a wedding. So what happens at a wedding? And you can taste it, and you can hear it, and you can feel it, and there's just a lot going on.
Well, let's read the text. So this is from the 2nd chapter, verse 1 through 11. On the 3rd day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what concern is that to you and to me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now standing there were 6 stone water jars for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to them, "Fill the jars with water," and they filled them up to the brim. He said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the chief steward." So they took it, and when the steward tasted the water that had become wine, and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the steward called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and then the inferior wine after the guests have become drunk. But you have kept the good wine until now." Jesus did this the first of his signs in Cana of Galilee, and revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him.
That's great.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the first of his signs. That too
Yeah.
is a John thing, as you were saying. Right? What are the signs
These
of
signs,
Jesus?
Yeah.
I
Wow,
love it.
okay.
What are the things that strike you? Should we say just a few things about the text before we move to
Go
the
ahead.
poem?
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Well, one of the things that intrigues me, maybe it's just being a mom myself, but I'm so taken in by the relationship and the conversation between Jesus and Mary. It's not some easy, easygoing conversation in my mind. It's Jesus says, "Hey, look, you need to
Yeah.
help him out," and he goes,
What, Mom?
What?
Me? Come on,
Why?
Mom.
Like, I'm having a good time.
Right, yeah.
Why are you bothering
Yeah,
me? And then she says, then she knows he's going to do it.
Yeah,
We don't know
yeah.
because the next thing is she tells the servants, do whatever,
Do whatever he says, yeah.
Whatever he says.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then 20 or 30 gallons, 6 jars, and they're all filled. So what is that? 180 gallons of wine.
That's a party.
That's a party that's going to keep on going.
I just want to highlight here this kind of inversion of power a little bit. You've got the chief steward, but the servants are in the know. Like they
that's
saw
good.
what was happening, and so how
that's good.
John is disclosing these signs of Jesus.
Ooh, that's good.
Why he's unique, not to the chief steward or the bridegroom, it's to the servants. They get to see it first. So anyway, I love that part. So,
Ooh, that's great.
yeah.
All right, a
Yeah,
poem.
Poem. Yeah.
The poem that we are companioning with this text, is from the poet Rainer Maria Rilke. And Rilke was a late 19th, early 20th century poet, Austrian poet and novelist. He wrote in German, so all of his work has been translated, and different translations pick up different ways of the poem,
Yeah,
just like
sure.
just like the
Like the
scripture
text,
text.
yeah,
Yep. He is kind of considered a mystic in some ways. He was Christian, but he kind of expanded an understanding of Christianity for his time period. But this poem is great, and it's called "On the Marriage at Cana." Could she be anything but very proud of him who made the plainest things become lovely? And was not the high, large, accustomed night as though beside itself when he appeared? Did not his having lost himself once also add unbelievably to his renown? And did the wisest not change mouth into ears to hear him? Had not the house grown new at his voice? Ah, surely in those days she had restrained herself 100 times from beaming forth with her delight in him. And so she followed after him, amazed. But there on that day at the wedding feast, when unexpectedly more wine was needed, she looked and begged a gesture at the least, and did not understand when he protested. Then he did it, and she saw much later how she had thrust him then upon his way. Now he'd become a real miracle maker, and in this act, unalterably, there lay the sacrifice. Yes, written and decreed. Then on that day, was it prepared already? It was she had driven on the deed in the blindness of her vanity. At table heaped with vegetables and fruits, she shared the joy and never understood that the water from her own tear ducts with this wine had been transformed to blood.
It just give me the chills, like this, especially at the end. Oh my gosh! So
I know.
there's so much.
Well, say
there.
more about that. Just what the
Well,
end
I mean,
evokes.
the evokes these. It evokes the foreshadowing of what's to come. These symbols and metaphors of the tears and the wine and the blood. I mean, I don't want to give too much because I want them to discuss.
Right,
But there's so much
exactly.
in here around metaphor and symbolism and foreshadowing.
Yeah.
If you know what's ultimately happening,
Yeah.
I won't say more than that. But
Okay, well, I'm going
Yeah,
to say
yeah,
one thing
uh-huh.
because I love this image of Mary, the way that this is evocative of this mother, maybe because I'm a mother, and you're so proud of your children and you see their specialness. And so it says, and so she followed after him, right? She beamed forth with her delight in him, and so she followed after him, amazed.
Yeah.
I think we feel that
Yeah.
for our children. And
Yeah.
so she's almost bursting because she knows what he can do, what he's capable of. The other side of that is she wonders if she thrust him into the limelight
Yeah.
before he was
Before
ready.
he's ready. Or, yeah.
And then that path to what you were saying,
And then
that path has
there's the-
started
the
and
tears,
it
yeah,
ends. Yeah. Oh, mixed.
Oh,
Moms
yeah.
have such mixed feelings about being moms.
And I would say, especially moms,
Parents.
there's a, yeah,
Parents
well,
do.
both, but yeah,
Yeah.
And both being on the receiving end of that, like what's it like when you have a parent or a mentor or someone in your life who really believes and how
Believes
powerful
they
it
do.
is, and
Yeah.
then like, yeah, I won't say more because
Yeah.
I think people can relate to that
Yeah.
experience in their own ways. So.
So we encourage you to spend time with
Yeah.
these texts, spend time with these stories, and listen to them, particularly the scripture story, in a new way.
New way.
All right. So talk about what you knew about this story before you came together tonight, and what new surprises did you hear?
It's coming tonight. And enjoy your supper. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
See you next month.
See you.